Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 71 of Be With Me in the book of 1 Corinthians. And today I'm going to title this Beyond Category Body. So I'm a fan of bike racing, and in the European and American races, they will say that, well, today's race has, two category 4 climbs and one category 2 climb. So they rank mountains about how high they are, how steep they are, how long the climb is, and they rate them on a scale of 4 to 1, 4 being the easiest, kind of the smallest bump, and 3 steeper and longer, and 2 steeper and longer, and then 1 the steepest and longest. Well, as they must have been doing this categorization, and then they said, well, what about that mountain? That's even bigger. That's even steeper. And then the answer was an HC, so it's in French, but it means beyond category. Oh, that climb, that we can't even talk about that one. That one's just beyond category. So their name for the craziest climb of all is a beyond category climb. And today, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the resurrection body, the glorified body, the body that is to come for all of us. And they're going to start with fish and animals and say, oh, that's a category 4 thing that you can understand, and in the human body. And we're going to talk about things that we understand, and then we're going to get to the end, and then he's going to say, oh, well, this is the thing that I really want to tell you about is beyond category. So listen in here. Good starts with a good question. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 35. But someone will ask, how are the dead raised? And the rest of this passage really doesn't talk about the mechanism other than it's God's choice. Then he asks the question that we are going to talk about today. With what kind of body do they come? You foolish person, what you sow does not come to life unless it dies. And what you sow is not the body that is to be, but a bare kernel, perhaps of wheat or some other grain. But God gives it a body as he has chosen. So that's the only answer to the how part. The rest is to the with what kind of body. All right, here it is. And to each kind of seed is its own body, for not all flesh is the same. Now he's going to talk about the various categories of the mountains, or the categories of creation. But there is one kind for humans, another for animals, another for birds, another for fish. There are heavenly bodies and earthly bodies, but the glory of the heavenly one is of one kind, the glory of the earthly is another. There's a glory of the sun, there's another glory of the moon, there's another glory of the stars, for stars differ from star in category. So it is with the resurrection of the dead. What is sown is perishable, but what is raised is imperishable. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. If there is a natural body, there is also a spiritual body. So this starts with a great question. How are the dead raised? And that's done by God and by God's choice. But flesh, so now we're going to talk about the different categories of creation, if you will. There is a glory to the human body that's a different category than heavenly bodies. People are different than stars. People are different than fish. So there's a glory of the earthly body, and certainly you'd agree, maybe thinking about the accomplishments of a triathlete or a Mount Everest expedition, or the accomplishments of a football team. There's a glory to the human body, or maybe a mental glory where somebody can figure stuff out, or thinking wise thoughts, or a glory of an earthly body in beauty. I think of the line from Seinfeld, where they looked at some actor or actress and say, oh, they're not good looking enough to be on TV or be in a magazine. There's categories of physical beauty. And then he talks about these categories of celestial bodies. Well, what about the sun? The sun is a glorious thing for light and warmth and photosynthesis, and every ounce of energy that we use is powered by the sun. All us people, all the animals, all that energy eventually comes back to the power of the sun. That's a glory. Now, how about the glory of the moon, or maybe the beauty and the subtleness of the harvest moon in the fall? Or the glory of the stars? We're just learning about that with the Hubble telescope kind of shutting down, and now the Webb telescope being 10 times or 100 times better than that. We are going to be learning more about the various glory of the stars in the next few years than ever. All right, so every one of these things, bird, fish, animals, people, stars, all end up with glory, and in a sense, they all leave us with awe. All these categories. So in my mountain category, so we're talking about categories 4, 3, 2, and 1. Fish might be category 4, and animals category 3, and stars category 2, and humans category 1. All right, all that's great, but now we got to talk about the beyond category. What are the beyond category things? So we're ending up with things that are perishable and broken and, relatively dishonored. But here's what we want to talk about today is the perishable turns into imperishable. You are going to live forever. You are going to see God. You are not going to ever decay again. And what is sown in dishonor or buried in brokenness, every person I ever knew died of something. They died of cancer or heart disease or infection or something we couldn't figure out. But they're going to be raised in glory. And how? Well, how? We scratch our head and we just worship. But what are they going to look like? They're going to display glory. That is the character and characteristics of God. And it's going to say here tomorrow that we're going to be bearing his image. And what is sown in weakness is going to be raised in power. So these are the beyond category things that we're going to talk about. Imperishable, glory, power, and not physical anymore, but spiritual. So how are the dead raised? Good question. They're going to punt on that one a little bit, today's question, and say, well, God chooses and God does this. But what are the categories? The question is, with what kind of body do they come? We've talked about the categories that we can understand, and they point to the categories that we can't. That is beyond categories, the imperishable, the glory, power, and spiritual bodies. I can't wait to get this beyond category body and enjoy the beyond category heaven. Join me. Have faith today. See you tomorrow.